Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the committee. I am Stephanie Flowers, State Senator for District 25. I hope I'm speaking plainly enough for everyone to hear me so that I don't have to take off my mask. I would prefer not to. I have a few remarks to make. I think most people remember me from the last General Assembly session in 2019 in March, when Senate Bill 484 came before us. And ultimately there was a virtual video that went all over the world. So I expressed strongly my opinion and my outrage with the way the process was going at that time. And I'm thankful that we did not have a motion to limit the debate. At the same time, I understand that with this bill today, Senate Bill 24, we have 8 committee members, 5 of which are either the sponsor or the co-sponsors of this bill. So I can count, and I know that it only takes 5 votes to get out of the committee. So I'm not gonna hold you long, but I wanted to say something in opposition and to give you my feelings and my thoughts about why I oppose the bill. So I appreciate you all indulging me for a few minutes. And I'm not trying to get a viral video. I wanted to start off. I was struck by something Senator Ballinger said when he presented his bill. He said, our job is to find the best policy, good and better policies. And that's interesting. I believe that too. So we do agree on that. However, I don't think this is the best policy. I don't think it's a good policy. I don't think it's a better policy than what we have in our law right now. Our law right now says a person can defend himself from deadly physical force. But they have, and particularly at their dwelling place, they don't have any kind of, the law doesn't say retreat from your dwelling place. That's been our law. It's settled in Arkansas. People have always been able to defend their homes without any possibility of prosecution for defending themselves at their dwelling place against deadly physical force. That's established, well established in our law. Our law says that if a person, well, it says a person is justified in using deadly physical force upon another person. This is section 607, 52607. We're not talking about just the physical force, because the physical force, that is not so much objectionable to me, except that it seems that we are encouraging people to not avoid confrontations when they could be safely done. But the one that gets me is this 52607, use of deadly physical force in defense of a person. It says a person is justified in using deadly physical force upon another person if the person reasonably believes that the other person is, 1, committing or about to commit a felony involving force or violence. 2, using or about to use unlawful deadly physical force. Or 3, imminently endangering the person's life or imminently about to victimize the person as described in 9-15-103 from the continuation of a pattern of domestic abuse. And we know that's been a problem all over the nation, and particularly in Arkansas. Says B, a person may not use deadly force, physical force, in self-defense if the person knows that he or she can avoid the necessity of using deadly physical force by retreating. However, a person is not required to retreat if the person is 1, unable to retreat with complete safety. So if you can't get away, you don't have to retreat. 2, in the person's dwelling or on the curtilage, that area surrounding the house is property. Surrounding the person's dwelling and was not the original aggressor. Okay? So, I said before, you absolutely have that right to self-defend at your house. But if you have a party over at your house, and in Arkansas we got open carry, and I guess those that, how do I put it? Because I don't want to offend anyone in the room today. Okay. That's not my intent. But if you have friends and your friends like guns and your friends and you use guns and you carry guns and you have a party and your friend is going to come with a gun, you're going to have your gun. You might have a gun party and everybody wear holsters and dress up, with your different types of paraphernalia to carry your weapon. I mean, I was over in Fort Worth this last September 2019. They even had a fashion show to model how you wear your guns and the holsters that you can strap on yourself and where you can strap on and all kinds of stuff. I was really surprised about that. But anyway, I mean, it's a fashionable kind of thing, and some people get off to that. So if you're at that party at your house, you invite your friends over, and you have your weapons all around you and exhibiting, and you're serving alcohol too. And maybe you as the host or the hostess, maybe you have a little bit too much. And maybe you are the aggressor, the initial aggressor at your home. And your friend feels threatened because you've gone so far as to even pull your weapon on your friend. And ultimately, maybe your friend feels like he has to defend himself at your own house that you invited him to and shoot you dead. So in that instance, I think that's what that part of the section of the code is talking about. And then, third part, a law enforcement officer, you don't have to retreat if a law enforcement officer or a person assisting at the direction of a law enforcement officer. So of course we want to help our law enforcement, and if they call on us to assist, and we're able to assist and provide help and support and save the life of the law enforcement officer, we want to do that. Because the law enforcement is to protect and serve. Then it says too, and the statute isn't long actually, so don't think I'm gonna sit up here all day and Senator Clark, I'm sure you won't let me, Mr. Chair, but it says, with complete safety. This is where you may not use the deadly force, deadly physical force in self-defense, if you know that you can avoid it by retreating, okay? And 2, with complete safety by surrendering possession of property to a person claiming a lawful right to possession of the property. And so I don't think, Senator Ballinger, your bill even dealt with that part of it. Let's see, to be sure, 6071. Yeah, you took that out too. So that's accepted here. But under our current law, if you could, with complete safety, by surrendering the possession of property to a person claiming a lawful right to the possession of the property. So say you took somebody's property over, you took it over and they wanted it back. They claim a greater right. Well, now we are striking that from our law. And then it goes on to talk and explain curtilage means the land adjoining and surrounding your residential and habitation for residential purposes. And it explains what domestic abuse means. And then it goes into physical harm, bodily injury, assault, or the infliction of fear of imminent physical harm, bodily injury, or assault between family or household members, and then any sexual conduct between family or household members, whether minors or adults, that constitutes a crime under the laws of Arkansas. So we strike, I don't think he struck that part. No, you kept that part in. Okay, so that's not an issue. But that's our present law. It gives us a right to defend ourselves, and only a duty to retreat kicks in unless you're at your house defending yourself and your family against serious bodily injury, deadly force, or if you are helping a law enforcement officer but if you're unable to retreat, okay, safely. And so the question becomes to me, is it better to avoid killing someone if you know you can get away from them? Or would you just want to take the opportunity because you have a gun and somebody might be threatening you, not necessarily with a gun. They might just be yelling at you, I'm going to shoot you, and you don't see no gun. But because you have this reasonable belief that they might have a gun on them, they could be packing something somewhere. Maybe it's behind them, but they got their hands up. And you say you're in your car, you're a pretty good distance from them, and maybe they're intoxicated. Maybe they're just talking all out their head. But still, they said those magical words to you, and it angered you, and you have your gun. And it might be a little bitty person compared to you. Could be somebody of very minor stature. Somebody you know you could just blow at them and they fall over. but you got a gun, they said the magic words, and so pop, you're just gonna shoot them. And sometimes, you know, I'm from Pine Bluff, and I was gonna mention where I'm from. And my district is District 25, I told you that. And that's parts of 6 counties in southeast Arkansas. And I guess outside of Pulaski County, we probably have the biggest homicide rate in the state of Arkansas. And it's not like I'm glad to say that, certainly not proud of it. I pray every day for the people in my district. My district and my city where I live, Pine Bluff, largely black, like me. And it breaks my heart to see black on black crime. Breaks my heart to see a young black man, young black girl, shot dead. We got more drugs in our community than you ever want to think about. And I asked myself, I grew up there. I was born in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. I grew up there. And I have never, ever seen it like it is now. When I was a little girl growing up there, we had safe communities, good communities. We were proud of how we treated one another. Our neighbors looked out for each other. When you saw someone doing something, misbehaving, everybody knew everybody. You knew their parents. Teachers knew their parents. We had parental participation. We had activities at our schools. We trained and developed our people. But those days are gone by. Where I grew up on Barracue Street in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, sometime in the 60s, actually it's 68, 69. We had a thriving black community down there. And the highway department in the state of Arkansas came through my community like a snake. And all along where we had black businesses, black homes, residential, gone. It's called the Martha Mitchell Freeway now. My father had an office over there, a law office. We had a large house over there, beautiful house. And it was an integrated community pretty much. I had some white neighbors. We all got along. We had black businesses. But my point is this. Our community went down. The decline affected people's behavior, people's ability to prosper, to be employed, to be self-employed, to have their own business. It went out the window. We had good schools. And the state of Arkansas resisted integration for decades. And we had segregated schools. And I guess, you know, some people, maybe some of you all here, some people in my community think segregated schools were better for my people. We didn't have the same kind of schools that you all had. We had all your second class kind of stuff. We got your used desk, we got your used books that were all written in and all that kind of stuff.
Senator Flowers, what was the point?
Okay, well, I'm just talking about the decline of my community. I'll move on from my decline. But I'm talking about it in the context of saying to the sponsors of the bill, members of the committee, that a bill such as Senate Bill 24, it's, I guess, brought to address things that are going on in my community, because I looked at some data that I got from someone in law enforcement, I don't see any homicides or murders or deaths by gun violence in Senator Ballinger's community. I don't see any in yours, Senator Stubblefield. I don't see much in yours, Senator Johnson. Hardly any in Senator Garner's, and a little in Senator Clark.
Quite a bit.
Well, you have some, but not like I have in my district. And the same with Senator Hendren. And so I ask myself, and I ask you all to think about it. Think about the fact that we're living in a crisis. That's a crisis down there where I'm from, okay? We have a pandemic going on. And the thing about laws, criminal law, and this particular law.
Senator Flowers, I've exercised a lot of patience with the committee. We need to wrap it up.
Okay, give me about 5 minutes, okay? Thank you. The thing about it is, when we talk about a law such as this, we're speaking to behavior. Either the behavior on the part of the victim or behavior on the part of the one who is being protected by this law and being allowed to use deadly force, okay? So when you talk about behavior, you have to talk about the circumstances of people, whether they're disabled, whether they have some mental challenges, whether they have some physical challenges, whether they are culturally different from each other, from the one that uses the deadly force as well as the one that doesn't. If you understand what I'm saying. And I'm not, okay, so I'll finish up. So some decision has been made into law, and we have our present law. And in speaking to what Senator Ballinger said about finding the best policies, to me, the bill represents a solution that is grounded in fear, that will cause unintended consequences by the fact that you don't know really enough about the person whose behavior you are reasonably believing is causing or threatening imminent deadly force to you, particularly if they don't even show it. So you might have unintended consequences. What doors are opened to look at somebody and make that belief that that person is threatening me? It becomes a solution that allows a private citizen to become the judge, the jury, and the executioner of somebody's behavior that you don't even know, or you may not even know. But out there in that public space or wherever that you file yourself in these 6 exceptions that where you have to have to prove that you have the no duty to retreat, the location is lawful. You go someplace and you become the judge, the jury, and the executioner. And contrast that with who would be involved. And like Senator Hendren said, I agree. And like you said, Senator Ballinger, I don't have particular statistics that I could just rattle off. I could have had some. I was kind of surprised that it came so soon. I didn't expect the agenda item to be Senate Bill 24 today, to tell you.
You've got about 60 seconds, Senator Flowers.
Okay, bear with me, Chair. But my solution, it's to correct some of these behavioral issues that I find in my communities. And I suppose that you are trying to direct these policies toward. So that my solution would be to engage law enforcement immediately when situations arise, if there is any possibility to do that. and give law enforcement the training and the tools they need to protect and to serve and to keep people safe and alive as opposed to being killed by deadly force. Our law enforcement needs tools. Our law enforcement needs training, and we expect them to have training. And what we're saying in Senate Bill 24, we're letting the private citizen, without training, just go out there. He becomes a judge, the jury, and the executioner. We don't need no courts. We don't need no law enforcement. We got stand your ground. That is not the way that I think we should go in trying to find a solution. I thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I wanted to end, though, if you will allow me, 1 minute. I wanted to say, just mention to you, because this has been difficult for me, but like I said, I know you got the votes and it's gonna go out of here, So, but I wanted to talk to you, Gary. Senator Stubblefield, you brought up yesterday the Bible, or Monday, or Tuesday, Bible up there at the chamber. I have a family Bible too. And I copied this out of my family Bible. And I just wanted to share this with you. That in 1883, the Howard County riots, my great-grandfather died, July 1883. My father wrote this inscription in the Bible. His name was Alonzo William Flowers. He was killed by unknown persons, and his ears were cut off for souvenirs. My grandfather, Alonzo William Flowers, he was born a couple of days later, August 4th, 1883. Posses, militia, they were fighting over land. My grandfather was in a field that was owned by our family in Hempstead County. They had a posse. White men. This is documented in the Arkansas Historical Quarterly. I didn't have time to pull the quarterly to bring it. But my grandfather's father was in the field along with his wife's brother and a 16-year-old black boy sitting up on a posted fence. And a land dispute had occurred between some other men, black men and a white man. And it ended up, the white man had encroached on the black man's land. He didn't think the black man should have the land. So, fight ensued, particularly after the white man got mad and assaulted the black man's daughter in a field. So the black man was killed, and my grandfather's father was there with his brother-in-law and this young boy preparing a coffin, a wooden coffin for the dead black man shot by these people. They were in the field. He was engaged in his work, looking forward to his son's birth. And the posse came, unknown white men came through, just shot the 16-year-old, they say in the article, like it was a bird sitting on a fence. Shot my grandfather's father and shot his brother-in-law. But you know, we serve in my family, and my father, this came out of his Bible, I serve a mighty God. So what we do here, we do. We have choices. We have a limited number of days on earth. No matter how we leave this earth, whether we're standing our ground, or we die of complications from COVID, We live at 70. And if we're lucky, or very blessed, maybe 80 years, maybe more. But there will be something after this life on earth, and I'm looking forward to that. I thank you, committee, for your time and your indulgence.
Senator Flowers, I have one question.
Okay.
You expressed concern in the past about stand your ground and your son. What state does your son live in?
I'm not disclosing that. Why do you want to know that?
Because I know what state he lives in.
Well, please, as Senator Hickey said the other day, personal, don't mess with my son now, okay?
I was just going.
Don't mess with my son.
I'm not messing with your son.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
He just lives in a stand your ground state. But
okay.
Senator Stubblefield.
Thanks, Senator Flowers. I'm sorry for what you had to endure in your family, but I can assure you that no one lives outside the consequences of their actions that they commit here on this earth. Sooner or later, either now or in the next life, they will answer for those. But if you were mayor of Pine Bluff, what would you do to improve all these situations that you described as far as the decline and crime? And I mean, are any of those situations related to fatherless homes, to drugs, to how many other factors contribute to the decline in Pine Bluff, Arkansas?
Let me put it this way, Senator Stubblefield, and I appreciate that question. Because that decline, the appearance of fatherless homes and all of that is a result of the legislature finding these best policies, good and better policies. Think about it.
Senator Flowers.
Wait a minute, Gary. You asked me a question. Now, I haven't always, and the people that look like me haven't always been able to come up here and serve in the Arkansas legislature. Okay? Now, there was a period of time, even when my great-grandfather was killed, 1883. We had black legislators. But about 1870-something, no more. Until 1965 or so. So we've never been in at the table to try to find these solutions. And even since I've been here, I have to be honest with you. You know, I've had help from some of you all, and I appreciate it on some of the things that I've proposed. But for the most part, whether it be Democrat or Republican, I don't get no kind of consideration for the ideas that I have for solutions to my community, okay? And so I say it lies with us at this seat in Little Rock, at the Capitol. Solutions. You know, let me be a part of making the solutions to what needs to happen in my community. How to reintegrate, have ex-felons re-enter. We sit up here, we make laws, and we have laws where certain people, if you ain't got no money to buy some food, let me tell you something. I have seen little kids in stores don't have no food, and whether it's because the mama been neglected or whatever. The fact is, what are you gonna do if you don't have no food? And I ain't talking just black kids, white kids too. I've practiced law for 38 years. And since 1991, when I came back to Pine Bluff, I've represented black and white.
Senator Flowers.
And I'm telling you, it's about poverty. It's about the legislature making laws that keep people from moving up.
She has the floor.
Silence, please.
You have been warned.
And let me say this. I love you all. The Bible says, love your enemies.
I think I have point of order.
Love your friends, love your enemies.
Senator
I love you.
Senator Garner?